Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Attendance has been taken.
The roll's been taken.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for today's meeting? Seeing none, are there any budget reports or consent items that you wish to separate for discussion purposes? Mayor Davis.
There's one, but I don't have the agenda. I don't have the agenda in front of me. It's still coming up.
Do you remember what the item was?
I know there was one I wanted separated, so
Okay.
now I've got it up. Yeah, 5.1.1.
Okay. Any others? Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder for all items for consideration and consent not separated? Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Councillor Van Tilborg. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the question.
So the item subject to the vote are as follows. Item 5.3.1, fourth quarter casino update. Item 5.3.2, honoraria and expenses report for 2022. 5.3.3, mileage reimbursement rate for 2023. 5.3.4, quarterly status report of contracts awarded, and 5.3.5, the minutes.
Yeah, I voted. Vote's not coming in?
All items not separated for discussion carry unanimously on recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Martin, and Councillor Van Tilborg.
Okay. That brings us to 5.1.1. Mayor Davis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to staff, I've assumed Joelle. But first of all, a very good report. I guess this is all part of the multi-year budgeting that we're going to be seeing. When I was reading, there is a chart in there that tells us it's figure 2, the annual debt servicing to council approved limits. So this says to us, we see the 7% limit. And we got the 10% limit, and then we have that yellow dotted line. So is that yellow dotted line what you predict the debt level will be in view of the changes to the Development Charges Act? Or is this done before that?
Through you, Chair Martin, to Mayor Davis. This chart was actually done before the impacts of Bill 23. So we still do know that there are going to be some impacts on the amount of development charges we collect resulting from Bill 23, but we still haven't been able to fully quantify those and forecast out what those shortfalls might be over a 10-year period. So at this point, we're still looking at sort of those options that we had discussed when the Bill 23 report came forward, is that we may need to look. There's definitely going to be options to consider. We may need to look at increasing the growth-related debt limit to proceed with those projects. We may need to defer some of our state of good repair to allow some of those growth-related projects to go forward. We can add the costs to proceed with some projects directly to the rates and to the levy, or we could look at deferring the growth-related projects altogether. But those are all things we still need to consider because they're still unknown at this time.
And so that discussion and those decisions will be made through the annual budgeting process? Or do you think there's a need to deal with it separately before then?
Not currently. We're still waiting to see if the province is going to provide some compensation, I'll call it, to municipalities, as they promised when the legislation received royal assent. There was some promise that there would be some funding forthcoming. we don't know what that is yet, but we'll certainly be looking at this as we develop the 2024 budget. We will be bringing that multi-year budget that also includes a multi-year capital plan for that multi-year budget timeline. And we'll be in a better spot to consider what those impacts might be then.
And one last question similar to that. So you've given us an estimate what the impact is on the housing budget with Bill 23. Have you been able to quantify on an approximate basis any other impacts of Bill 23 in our capital budget in terms of dollars?
I can't provide a specific answer today, but we do know that in addition to the reduction in the DCs that we expect to see because there's these new exemptions and discounts that are being offered to developers, but there are some projects in this capital plan that we can no longer put development charges to. So growth related studies is one of those things. So where we used to be able to fund transportation master plans, master servicing plans, and even our DC background study from development charges, that's going to be something that will also be going away. And it's also, I should note that the plan that's attached to this report excludes new affordable housing altogether because of the elimination of housing DCs and the collection of that. We actually removed housing from this plan because we know that that is an enormous hill to climb to regenerate the revenues for that.
So when you say that, you mean beyond the projects that are already in the
Yes, absolutely. We've already got ones that are approved and on the books. Just for the 2024 beyond, we've kind of removed those while we take a step back, and we'll be bringing that revised funding strategy through the Social Services Committee this year.
So you'd have Trillium Way in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shellard Lane.
Lucy Marco.
Yeah. Lucy
Yeah.
Marco.
Yeah.
So it's kind
All
of
still proceeding. Yeah.
all right. So it's beyond that.
Correct.
That's the question mark. Hopefully the province will then by then have made good on its promise to make us whole.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no further questions, how much is in the housing reserve once the projects that are in process are done? Approximately.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe we're getting down currently. If I had to guess today, the development charges reserve for housing has been depleted. We've utilized all the development charges that we collected for the projects that are currently on the books. If I had to guess, I would guess about $5 million currently, but we do have previous council direction to put some funds into that reserve. One of those things off the top of my head, I remember some sale of some admin properties that council's already directed that when that happens, those proceeds are going to go into this reserve as well. And through the recommendations of the Mayor's Housing Partnership Task Force, there was other items that we would see over a 10-year span be used to return money to the Affordable Housing Reserve as well.
Okay, and the transit fleet expansion, is that to accommodate the switch to electric?
I think Mike Spicer is on Zoom and is probably best equipped to answer that question.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes. Yes is the simple answer. The other aspect of this too is that we're still understanding what the life cycle is in our diesel fleet. And the other aspect of it too is electrifying our specialized fleet. So yes, it will be to allow for electrification. It's just how quickly still yet is to be determined.
Okay, are we looking to electrify the Brantford lift fleet as well?
That is correct through you, Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay, and the Another question, but I lost it. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Caputo, did you have any questions on the capital budget plan?
No idea where we're at, but looks good to me.
Okay, with that, we'll call the question on. Okay, so I guess we need a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, seconded by Mayor Davis. With that, we'll call the vote.
Item 5.1.1 carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Van Tilburg, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin.
And with that, we have no resolutions, no notice of motion. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.